Hey everybody, Ian here at AbelCine in Burbank. Today we're taking a look at the Canon XC10. XC10 is a motion capture 4K HD camera as well as a still camera, and it has the added benefit of being the type of camera that will capture motion images and then you can generate still images from those motion captures. This is a very important type of feature, especially for photojournalists whose editors are asking them to produce video interviews and then still images from that same interview. It has some new technologies in terms of focus as well. Now, autofocus is nothing new in camcorders, but what makes this camera interesting is that it now has something called face detection. As the name implies, instead of having a center-weighted autofocus type camera, it now looks at skin tones, puts a box around that subject, and will keep the subject in focus wherever they go in frame. And this is a great feature because it allows people to really focus on what's happening in the frame and have the confidence that the large sensor camera like this will stay in focus with the subject. In order to show you the functionality on this camera, I'm going to do some close-ups and take you for a quick tour around the camera. The back of this camera is meant to be the main control area where you set different settings for the camera. At the bottom here on this door, you open it up. This is where a CFast card is located to record your 4K, and there is an SD card slot for HD and for stills. There's a couple different ways to navigate through this camera. You can see that I have a menu button here. If I push that, next to it is a joystick, and then I can go through and I can do all the normal things I would expect to do. However, there is a touchscreen interface on this camera that is very nice. You push this function and now I can either roll through, I could push down and I could go to my different settings that I want, or I could use the joystick here to get to my various settings. So for instance, here I'm on iris. I can literally just roll through on the bottom here, and you can see based on the focal length that I have the camera set to, it now shows me how open I can be on my aperture. Now this is a camera with a fixed attached lens. It's 24 to 240 focal length. Now I'm going to roll down a little bit on the focal length here, and I'm going to go down to 80 mils, and you can see at 80 mils, you'll notice that the setting on my iris is now 4.4. That is the widest opening I have at that given focal length. I'm going to go back out wide to 24, and now you can see that I have 2.8 as my fastest iris opening. Camera has built-in scene files, so for example, you can go in and get looks. Now if I tap on these, it's going to give you a little explanation of what those different settings are. Wide dynamic range, for example, and it also has log. So if you have been using log in other Canon cameras, you'll be right at home with this camera as well. The feature sets are so extensive in these menus, I'm not going to go through everything, but I just want to show you all the different functionality that you have in here. Moving over to from the operator's point of view, we're looking at the right-hand side of the camera. The camera has built-in microphones. However, we can, under this flap, you have a mini jack, and so now we have the ability to go in there and put on a professional onboard mic if we wish. And then below that, we have our HDMI out and a DC in. The camera comes with a power supply. Interesting thing to note, power for the camera is supplied by the same battery that you would find on a 5D. The power supply will power the camera. It's also the power supply to recharge the battery. When you plug the power supply in, if it's not on, it will recharge the battery. I found an empty battery took about 2-3 hours to charge that battery up, and there would be an amber diode lit up on top of the hand grip of the camera, and when it was fully charged it would go dark. Now we've got the flaps in, so now we can see the buttons on the side. Again, very simple architecture, but very intuitive, very easy to use. Focus, manual, or auto. As I'd mentioned, we can have it in a general autofocus mode, or we can go to the face detection mode. And the display button, it's a user button. We could set it for whatever we wish. It's like any other user button on cameras. This one just gives me display on and off on my LCD. And we have the push autofocus. Notice they have number 1 and number 2 on them, so we could go in and we could assign them to different tasks. We're looking down at the hand grip from the top, and we have our major function modes here between motion capture, still capture or record on off, power for the camera, and a button here that allows us to go into playback mode. This diode tells us when we have power. It also, if it is in an amber mode, it tells us that we are charging the battery. There is no external charger that comes with the camera. The charging is done inside the camera with the power supply. Our different mode switches and a user switch for magnification. Again, we could change those things around if we wished. One quick note about the playback. We could either activate that playback here, or we could do that by hitting a command on the touchscreen on the back of the camera. Shot here on the side of the hand grip, note that you have the plug-in here for your headphones, and the entire hand grip itself will pivot. There is a detent in it that defaults it to sort of the standard position, but it is capable of moving very quickly and easily to different positions for holding the camera at various angles. The XC10 comes with this eyepiece as part of the kit. It's a reflex finder. There's a mirror under that eye cup that's reflecting the LCD finder into the eyepiece. If you don't want to use it, it can be removed from the camera body. You simply loosen this latch and it swings away from the camera. That concludes my brief tour of the Canon XC10. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.